Hello friends, welcome back. This is the episode 2 on our Power of JQ learning series. And this episode, I'll just explore an interesting feature of JQ, and that is called Slurp. If you don't know JQ, this is a command line JSON parser utility. Last episode, I spoke about how to use JQ and use this filter feature and parse the JSON response to create a CSV file just by applying a single command in CLI. So today, this is the second capabilities, and that is a Slurp, and we'll dig into it and use it beautifully to a response that we'll get from a Northwind API. So let's see how it works. So let's understand how Slurp actually works. So let's take a simple .txt file which contains two discrete arrays. The first array contains two JSON objects, whereas the second array contains another JSON object. So now let's use the power of JQ, the feature called Slurp, and set an expression saying like, hey, create a bigger JSON with value as the content or kind of a data representing this enter content as a value, and set it as a flattened structure and apply these overall things on this particular file content. If I click on enter, now let's maximize this terminal and see what happened. It basically merged three JSON objects under a bigger array. That's interesting. And the overall things been put under a bigger JSON, and the entire array is representing by the string value, which we have already put over here. So if we change this value with something else, let's say for example with data, so then the same thing will set to data, right? So that's how it works. So how you can leverage these capabilities in a productive use case? Let's see that. So let's check this particular product entity for the Northwind API, and I received the response as product 1 till product 20. But if I just now add $count, I will get 77 products. So that means I received only 20 out of 77. But if you have noticed one interesting thing at the end of this response, that is called ODataNextLink, and it contains something called skip token, which is equal to 20. So let's copy this entire string without quotation and paste it with the service URL, and let's see what happens. Interestingly, now the product ID switched from 20 to 1, and it continues till 40, and again the skip token now changed back to 40. So that means in the next iteration, if I add this token, it will fetch data from 41 till 60. So that means in each iteration it returns 20, and this is purposefully done to achieve the pagination for the performance improvement reason. Now the thing is like, that's okay. I mean, how we can get the entire 77 records in one click? Is there a better way? So today we'll be using this particular JQ feature, which is a Slurp, and to solve this particular problem, let's create our bash script, starting with sharp or hash followed by exclamation or bang. It is also known as bang. So together it basically called the shebang, followed by the compiler path, which is /usr/bin/bash. Now how did I get it? Simple, which bash is the command, and this is the path where my compiler does exist. So then I'll just want to add two user prompts. The first prompt will ask for the URL, service URL. The second one is the endpoint or entity path or entity name. So let's write the next one called a curl command, and I want to just add URL to get the value from the variable. In bash you have to use $ and the variable name. So as a convention, it's not a kind of a hard stop, but a convention, the variable name should be uppercase. So now we are going to concatenate the service URL followed by the path. So let's add entity set. Now the problem is, if we are adding these two entities, two variables together, then we need to separate it out by this curly brace, otherwise it will not work. Fine. So next I want to add this value, or whatever the curl command will fetch, the same thing I would like to add in a different file. Let's say 03.jq/slurp.json, right? Save it, and let's run this file called 02. So it's asked for the URL. So let's copy the URL and put it over here, followed by the endpoint or the entity products, and it's basically downloading the content and create a new file. But it's all end up with a single line, but all these 20 records only it fetched again, right? So let's add a little formatting now, which is very easy. So let's just pipe and then check you dot. So now this one, what will happen, it will just do the same thing, but let's add one more thing now, and that's called silent. So no more prompt or kind of a downloading prompt will be available. So just rerun this at the URL, put products once again, and now it will just create the same file, but this time it is all in a nicely formatted fashion that we are all used to, right? So this is the thing that we just need to fetch now, and that entire process we need to run in iterative manner. Now to get the OData link, let's use JQ, and then the expression is called dollar, dot, sorry. With an array, we have to put at the rate, not at the rate, but within a quotation, we have to put at the rate OData dot next, but link L is capital. And this one I want to apply on the newly created JSON file and see what happens. Voila, you see the string is basically returned, but with quotation. So we need to remove this quotation, and that is very easy. We just need to add something called raw output, and there is no more quotation. So this is the particular command that we need to execute now, right? This is so that will receive this particular value. So let's copy this enter command and take a new variable called next link is equal to, and we'll be using a command extension, that means $sign, but with some parentheses, and put the enter value. So that means this command will be executed and the result will be just put in under this variable called next link. Okay, so we can just again run an echo and you can see, but already we have checked it, so that's fine. So next, wrap this around in a while loop. So write while, and the condition is something -n to check things is not null, and that is dollar next link, right? So this should not be not null, then semicolon, and then run do, and enter process will be with done. That basically wrapping things in a while loop. Now thing is like next link, once I get this next link, I want to just take a little pause. So again, something if condition, again I'm checking not null by -n, within quotation dollar next link, little space, colon, this time then, right? Then I want to just sleep this process for some duration. Let's say declare a variable at the top called pause, that is equal to like 0.5 seconds, and you can put within a quotation dollar pause colon, and then fi is the closing of the if, right? So that way, once I get the next link, I will just validate. If it's not null, then I'll just quit, and I'll come back to while loop. I'll just check if it's not null, that means for the next thing I have to go for. But the thing is, this next link I'm not using over my URL, that is incorrect. So what we'll do, we'll just do one thing. Let's create a function and put enter things inside. That will be more easy to maintain. So let's function main and put enter things inside this function. Okay, so here we can declare this next link as a local variable with a term called local variable, and that I want to get the entity set at the first time. So dollar entity set. So whatever entity set I will get, that I'll just take inside this next link, and this next link I'll just want to place instead of entity set. So the first run, the entity set will take, and then in the next iteration, that OData next link will be concatenated with the URL. That's what we have been doing. We are almost done. Now the thing is, we have to add little more things as fail. If server side there is a failure, that fail to be handled, And also when I'll just look through, it will, the redirect to a different location, so that we have to add this location also, so that it doesn't give an error during navigating. Sorry, I have to put this one. Yeah, so that way this file will be adding up, and we are almost done. Not completely, but almost done. Now the challenge is we are using a kind of a hard-coded file name. That is not a good practice. So let's create another local variable called temp file, which is a temporal file, and that I want to use it again with a command extension, and we call make pmp. So mktmp will basically create this command, will create a temporary file, and the value of that file will be added to this variable called temp file, which is a local variable. So let's use this variable instead of this hard-coded file name. Put it dollar this. That's all. Similarly, this one we want to change with dollar this. Now here is one thing pending, and that is while we'll run this command the first time, it will generate the temp file, and the temp file will contain this particular response. But how this type should be, the type is kind of this kind of a content will be put into, but we are actually interested to store it as a array format, right? So we need to actually grab the content which is represented by value, not the entire content, right? So let's little bit after getting the next link, let's run this one called check you, then an expression, then dot value, right? So this one will just grab the array part, but from which one? From this $temp file, right? So that is what it will give me, the array part of this content. So interestingly, we have created our first bash script. So let's run this script now. So .02 is my script name. If I run, it asks for the service URL. So get the service URL from this browser, and endpoint or entity name is products. And let's see what happens. Voila, it fetched 20 records, starting break, next 40 records, take break, again 60 records, and finally fetch 77 records, and it's all over because there is no next link. That's awesome, right? This is what we want. But only thing is, now this all parts actually an individual array of 20 records each, just like this, right? So what the next thing to do, we have learned the first time that we have to just use the Slurp to grab all those arrays into independent arrays or discrete arrays and create a bigger JSON. So that means we need to now wrap around this while loop within a curly bracket, put it over here. Let's do a little formatting, and now we need to run or pipe this thing within check-you, then Slurp, that is the feature, and we need to set an expression with bigger JSON value followed. The structure should be flattened. That's all we want. So let's run now. 02. So it asks for the service URL followed by products, and boom, it's all done. Let's see. It will take little time because it's grabbing all the values first, I mean dumping in the standard output, and finally it's wrapping around with a bigger JSON. It's all comes under a single JSON now, and this is what you can see. It's all came under the value as a bigger JSON. That's awesome, right? I hope this tutorial was useful to you, and you should be using this kind of feature more to your project or for your day-to-day life. A developer's life will be more easier, I believe. Thanks for watching. We'll again connect with another feature of JQ soon in our JQ series. Take care.